Aloha, my love. Welcome back to the Dark Horse Rises channel, where we're all about the Dark Horse movement and helping you remember your magic as a dark horse, as a deep feeler, as a sensitive soul, as a spiritual renegade horse woman on the rise. And so today I wanted to talk about something that might be a bit controversial, that might be a little bit groundbreaking, that might be a little bit unconventional. And that is, there is a part of traditional horse training, horsemanship, that I feel like they left out, a missing piece that I honestly wish that I had when I first started out on my horse manship, horse relationship, horse journey, okay? And before I let you know what that is, I promise I will reveal that to you. I want to take a moment, first of all, to give you a little bit of background in terms of where I'm coming from, and in case you're new to me, like why you might want to listen to me. So, first, I have a wealth of wisdom, of lived experience, attuning to the shared field, the energetic quantum field between horses and their humans, from my former vocation as a renegade holistic equine veterinarian for over 2 decades, where I specialized in things like acupuncture and body work and holistic healing and energy medicine. And I've done a number of videos around the different levels of energy that you share with your horse. I've recently been talking about tapping into this quantum field for growth and healing and connection and trust with your horse. And I will try to remember to put those videos down below. So there's that piece. Then I've had my own personal horses in my life, my beloved equine companions. And then there's the dozens of horses that I have not really talked about. I've a few here and there that I rode before I got my own horses, whether they were on a trail ride, whether they were a friend's horse, whether they were lesson horses. I had the traditional background of taking English writing lessons in my undergrad. I literally chose the schools because they had a riding team, so I could, be near the horses, which for me was a big deal, having grown up in the Bronx as a city girl and then moving to the suburbs. And so, I have that background, and after flying down to, or migrating down to horse capital of the world, Marion County, Florida, which I didn't realize it was at the time. I came down here to study veterinary acupuncture with my mentor, and discovered that this was horse capital of the world, to my delightful surprise. And soon thereafter, started fulfilling my dream at that time of starting my own holistic equine mobile practice, specializing in the acupuncture and the chiropractic and beyond, and got my first horse after I moved down here. And I worked with a number of trainers when I had my horses, either local natural horsemanship trainers, I did some Pirelli work, I took a couple of online programs, and for the most part, I've kind of taken bits and pieces here and there from my journey and, took what resonated, left the rest, and made it my own around, on this ever-evolving journey. And so I want you to know that I just want you to get a kind of taste or context for my background in terms of being a quote-unquote horsewoman, and I want to give you the full disclaimer that I am not claiming to know everything. I am not an expert. I would not call myself an expert specializing in like horsemanship or training. And again, I do think I have a wealth of wisdom and lived experience in that arena because of how many hours I have spent with horses, again, either in my previous renegade vet practice or personally, okay? Sometimes I forget, like I've had to remind myself just how much experience I have had, and I forget to even acknowledge and honor that in myself. So I'm doing this for myself just as much as to help you, know where I'm coming from. Anyway, so, and I do have, by the way, a story that I shared, and I know I did it in a podcast, and I can't remember if I did it in a video, around what my first horse taught me about connection when the traditional, like the horsemanship training wasn't working for us. And so I'm not going to go into that story here. Again, I'll try to link at least that podcast down below. What I want to say around traditional horsemanship that I feel is missing, and again, I wish I had back in the day, has to do with spending, investing, devoting a little bit more time in what I want to call pre-groundwork. Like, as an example, perhaps you've worked with a trainer and maybe they might tell you before you go for a ride or hang out, do whatever with your horse. It's thundering out and raining. Like they give you some check-in steps, right? Maybe they have you observe the horse and their behavior and their body language and their breathing and maybe their, facial expressions. Maybe they have you do some kind of, like have them back up and kind of do a little sort of test or check-in to see where they're at. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, and I want to be clear that I am not saying to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I am not saying that we don't need some horsemanship skills and awareness. What I am saying is there's a fundamental piece that has made such a huge difference for me on my horse journey that I feel like not a lot of people are talking about. Now, I will say I am starting to see, which I'm thrilled to see, starting to see some horse people talking about the nervous system, talking about our breath, and that is amazing, and I'm so excited about that. And that is part of what I feel is the missing piece. But what if in the example I gave you, let's say, you have 3 steps before you go and, ride your horse, and they are to, again, observe your horse's behavior, body language, breathing, etc. 2, back them up to see how they're responding and if there is clear communication and connection there. And 3, maybe you take them on a little like walk and see how well they're responding to you in terms of stopping and going, okay? I'm just throwing out some random examples of things that I've had trainers have me do back in the day, again, when I was first starting out. And in terms of groundwork, which I am a huge fan, by the way, of groundwork before we get on their backs. And I also believe that riding needs to be consensual. And of course, as a conscious guardian, making sure that they are never in pain, saddle fit, check their feet, all the things like that that's like the least we can do before we ask them to carry us, right? So what if even before we enter the arena, even before we go to the barn, even before we open the gate and go into the paddock, what if we did a check-in with ourselves and checked in with our energy, like our overall vibe in that moment, and our own energy and state of being that we're bringing into the shared field with our horse, like in present moment, physically. We're always sharing that field, and again, that's part of what I went into in the Tap Into the Field 2-part series. But I'm talking about when we're going out to be with our horse, whether we're doing groundwork or riding. What if even before we did that, we did some pre-groundwork? We even just stopped before we crossed the threshold, before we entered the paddock, before we opened the gate, and took like 5 minutes, 3 minutes to check in with ourselves around how are we feeling in that moment? How grounded are we? How present are we? How calm are we? Are we tense? Are we overwhelmed? Are we kind of in that zooming around, rushing energy? Are we excited, nervous? Like, what is your overall vibe? Because and I know that your horse is feeling and responding to that energy before you even cross the threshold, before you give them any cues. And I know they are prey animals, right? So they are hardwired for survival, and they are tuning in to your energy. And if you are in any sort of stressed or survival state mode, I recently dropped a podcast on how high cortisol is literally killing your connection with your horse and so much more. I'll try to drop that down below too. If you are anything that even reeks and smells of stress or fear or anxiety, or again, anything that isn't relaxed and calm and chill and feeling safe, your horse is going to feel that, right? Like, you cannot fake confidence with your horse. You can't tell yourself in your mind to act confident and be confident. If your body doesn't feel it, your horse smells that incoherence from a mile away. They smell that misalignment, that lack of congruence. And they are going to know that something is off. And so begs the question is, what if we actually just added one more step, again, a pre-groundwork step, and checked in with ourselves, took a few minutes, and from there, depending on what you're observing, if you're calm and chill and relaxed, cool, go for it. If you are not, and you would like to, ask yourself, what energy do you want to be bringing to your horse if you would like to be more calm or more grounded or more confident in that moment? Can you take a few more minutes to shift your energy, whether you are allowing yourself to receive some gentle cleansing breaths? Here's a little cheat code I love to do. If I'm in a rush, this is a quickie, but not meant for all the time. You really want to do the foundational pieces, but I feel called to share it with you because it's better than nothing, okay? What if something I will do, like if I'm walking to the barn, right, and I'm having one of those days, and maybe it's like dinner time, and I can feel myself rushing, like I've gotten into the habit now of checking in before and on the way to go be with my horse, right? Am I rushing? Am I stressed? Like checking in and slowing down, like even on the walk between the house and the barn, we have a very long driveway, so it's like the perfect time for me to implement this. I begin slowing my walk down. I begin starting to slow my breath down, right? And something really magical that I do is just before or as I'm walking, I enter the barn or the paddock or whatever, I will imagine and envision myself being showered with this gorgeous diamond light waterfall that's washing over me and just cleansing and washing away any energies that I don't want to bring to my horse, and just feel myself being washed, cleansed, and I'll let that go down the drain into the earth. And then now I can notice how I feel right after that. Notice how you felt. You could even try that now while I just did it. You maybe you did it with me and you could feel the difference, right? It doesn't have to take a long time. And so even doing that is something, and then, okay, now we can go in, now we can observe their energy and their behavior and their body language. And a really cool thing to play with is when you're in there, or let's say you're outside the gate and you haven't walked in, to kind of observe when you're checking in and doing your stuff out of the corner of your eye, or when you open your eyes, like, what are they doing? Did they come over kind of curious? Did they start licking and chewing? Like, notice their response. And I promise you, the more you keep doing this, not only the more deeply you will be connected to yourself, as you expand your somatic awareness and consciously, intentionally choose to shift your energy, they are going to feel it and they will respond in kind. I mean, do it. Let me know how it works for you as a little experiment. And of course, if you are in this place of chronic stress or anxiety or fatigue or depression or overwhelm or survival mode, which so many people, especially women, are these days, just with, again, the way the world is, and you don't have those tools to kind of relax and regulate your system and your energy, then for your own overall health and well-being first, and then again that ripples out to your horse, you want to really do some deeper work. And that's where someone like me can come in and be really supportive and helpful with the different tools and offerings that I have to help you shift into being the human that your horse is waiting for. So with that, I am going to ask you, if you received value from today's video and you haven't yet subscribed, please do. It's free to do. You can make it yourself private if you're a private person like I am, like I I sub and follow actually quite a few people on YouTube, but I make it private, right? If you're kind of like, you don't want people knowing, make it private. But it would really support me. It would support getting the word out there around the medicine of the horse and really empowering more of my renegade, spiritual, heart-led horsewomen step into that next level of embodied leadership and presence with their horses and in life, right? Because it's all connected. And so thank you for following again. Make sure you hit that notification button so you know when the next one comes out. Don't forget to like if you're still here. And until next time, I love you. Ciao for now. Namaste.